Salutations, Utopians. So as we wind down the off season in pro basketball, I must say this has been one of the most transactional based off seasons in the history of the game. And to further upon that, to add on that, from a sports broadcasting journalism perspective, it only reinforces how active it's been. Not to mention, you got G Leagues now, international basketball is going on as we speak, as we segue into the preseason. The proverbial game of musical chairs is winding down. With that being said, there's one major game changer who's very much unsatisfied. And despite this week, or pending last week, the Philadelphia 76ers saying they will be tabling all discussions related to James Harden trade talks, James Harden is not done launching his smear campaign on the organization, and most notably the key brain trust over there, Daniel Morey. This is a simple case of a friendship or a bond taking its course. And unfortunately, why a lot of times people say sadly, you can't mix pleasure and business. Their friendship has run its course. The timelines are different, motives are different. James wanted out of Houston, Daniel facilitated that, got him in Brooklyn. Things fizzled out in Brooklyn, thought that's what he wanted. He ends up going to Philadelphia. The problem was when Daniel Morey took the Philly job, Ben Simmons was at the peak, at the pinnacle of his trade value. So when they moved off Ben Simmons and chose Brooklyn, trading within a division, even though it has not come back to bite them in the butt at all, it still was their most opportune time to cash in on a quote-unquote generational talent, or at least how you could sell it to be a generational talent, even though he had been a shadow of himself for so many years. With that being said, now James wants out of Philadelphia, understandably so. He's LA through and through. Went to middle school there, Audubon, grew up there. He's just an LA guy, and there's never been a greater time to go back to LA with the Los Angeles Clippers rolling out a brand new stadium titled the Intuit Dome. And James right now is unapologetically trying to beeline his way back to LA. But Daniel Morey has finally put his foot down and said enough is enough. I understand there's been some contract confusion, sign this deal, we'll give you an extension, but I think James' thirstiness and foaming up at the mouth of joining the Clippers revealed his hand too blatantly obvious and turned off the 76ers brass from pulling the trigger on any deal collaborating with the Los Angeles Clippers. Furthermore, all these stories making it be known he solely has only interest in one team further hinders their ability to move and get just compensation. The issue right now with James Harden, nobody in the league feels like they're a James Harden away from being a title contender. And because the last couple stops have been unceremonious, there won't be. James is worried and upset about a contract extension, and James wants to go to LA, but little does he realize he's about to join a long list of players who are going to be asking themselves why I'm not in the league, i.e. John Wall, Isaiah Thomas, Boogie Cousins, Dwight, Melo. You see, in pro sports, the league likes players who are nice, quiet, and cooperative. You see this a lot in pro football. When a starting quarterback starts to fizzle out, being a backup quarterback is the next best thing for you. And when you don't want to play to your strengths, which is less availability is more, you find yourself on the outside looking in. Time and time again we've seen this, i.e. Carson Wentz, right now in the latest installment of that. And I'll make a separate video about quarterbacks and examples. But here in the NBA, it's the same thing. A guy who everyone needs to take a page from and watch how who could put on a masterclass on a proper way of retiring is Andre Iguodala. When he left from Denver to go to the Golden State Warriors and willingly went to the bench, Andre Iguodala was one of the rare players who had a physique that could rival LeBron. Him and Corey Maggette in terms of perimeter players who were built like power forwards. If anyone had 4 or 5 more years as a key perennial starter, potential all-star, it was Andre. And for the greater good of the franchise, took way less money, fraction of the penny on the dollar worth contract, took like 50 million back when guys were still getting 100 M's, and that was considered max. Took 50 M's, team-friendly deal, came off the bench, and last year got another ring, even though he's in the twilight of his career and still being kept around one of the blueprints of organizations in all of sports. Andre's been a mentor, he's been a key contributor, an NBA Finals MVP, all because he said, I know I have way more left in the tank as a starter, but I could even be more of a name if I come off the bench and play on a significant team. And that's where a lot of guys have gone wrong in this league. Not willingly sliding their ego to the side and saying, I'll take whatever I can get in whatever capacity. And you go out fizzling to the point now where you say Melo, for instance, and I hate to say it like that, but the guy in Charlotte is who you think of. He's done way too much for the game, being the greatest Olympian on paper, to be forgotten the way he's going to get forgotten about, unless you're from his era. And James is heading on that same trajectory. Things grow old quickly here in dog years in this modern day lifestyle. In an era where an album can be released and tomorrow it's already halfway, it already feels like people already know it like the back of their hand, and with a brand new review, any old Joe Schmo can write a review. Hence, I know where I'm in the sports world currently at the moment. But he's playing a dangerous game. James should be returning ironically to where it all began, as a sixth man like he did with the OKC Thunder when he made it to the finals. I think that was the only time he's ever been to the finals. Being candid and being real with yourself is the biggest mitigating factor between the haves and have-nots in this world. James cannot be a 1A or 1B and think he's going to win a ring. That's trying to have your cake and eat it too, and he's not that kind of guy. Playing the complementary role as a key contributor as a sixth man to a team like a Milwaukee would be more better for him, would suit him better. But we are bear witnessing, ladies and gentlemen, a one-on-one class on how to get yourself completely gone with the wind and forgotten about for a guy who's done so much, and a guy who's considered a generational talent and a once-in-a-lifetime talent for that matter. He's a whole persona on his own. Not just for the beard, antics, or mantra, or nickname, but the moves. The nights that he put on for Houston, a franchise that hadn't had too much glory in a while, at least, since the Yao Ming era. And then before that, Hakeem the Dream. He was giving the fans something to root for and will forever be ingrained in the franchise history. And I can understand his frustrations, because if Dylan Brooks is getting $80 million from the Grizzlies to go play over there as a, mentor, imagine what James could have been doing for the Rockets. They paid Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, who are basically a combination of what James Harden could have done for them. So he passed up $200 million to go back home where he's loved and cherished, to basically play possibly himself out of the league. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a lapse in judgment, and it's going to be a stone cold offseason for him next season when looking for a contract, because he went from a guy who had potentially $200 million on the table to something like $3 million next year if he wants to play in the league. I hope not, but that's what it's looking like. Cheers, all the best. Global, out.